joining me now, MLB Network analyst as well as an analyst for TBS and both SNY and WPIX. The man has many mic flags. He is Ron Darling, back on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Ron?
Hi, Rich, and thanks for having me on. And I remember that last out, Willie Horton was up. I remember it was a slider from Gibson, and the two reactions were so hilarious. McCarver, who, of course, was his catcher, came sprinting out so excited, very Yogi-like in the Don Larson game. And Bob Gibson's shoulders just slumped, like he was just so exhausted from pitching one of the best games of his career. I just found that very interesting. And as an 8-year-old boy, I was like, boy, there'd be something to pitch like him someday.
Yeah, well, and you won a World Series game one day, too. Game 4 of the '86 World Series, striking out 13 fewer Red Sox than Gibson struck out Tigers on that day. What is it like pitching in the crucible of the playoffs, Ron?
Well, what's interesting about it is that every inning seems like 2 innings. Every pitch, you can just double it up. The agony of or the agonizing over each hitter that you're going to face, it just goes through your brain over and over before, during, and after the game. And it's just mentally, it's exhausting. I remember Tiger Woods being quoted once as saying in his heyday, when he would win a major, he would literally lie in bed the whole next week because he felt like he had flu-like symptoms. I mean, that's kind of how you feel. It's just everything in your body is just taken out because you're just given so much. And you know, the hardest part about it, and Rich, you see it all the time, is that, you know, someone's got to win, someone's got to lose, but all the guys are trying the same. So you know, it's the greatest athletes in baseball, all in the same field at the same time, all trying for the same thing, and some are going to have great moments from it, and some are not.
What do you make of the teams that are already in it and maybe limping into the playoffs, or a team like St. Louis that has been in the playoffs essentially forever, it seems like, with their 100th win of the season last night? And then you've got teams like Houston, Los Angeles Angels, the Twins, the Yankees, who just clinched last night, using all this equity just to try and get there. Which one would you prefer to be, Ron?
Yeah, I think at this time, I think the way the things have worked, watching Madison Bumgarner last year, you'd like to have your pitching lined up. Yes, getting to the postseason is the most important, but having the throw on Saturday or Sunday, your best pitcher, sometimes doesn't always line up your pitching correctly to max out. Very few teams are 3 and 4 and 5 pitchers deep as far as the starting pitching is concerned. So I think that's important. That being said, I think if you're a team that's clinched early and you're kind of sitting around twiddling your thumbs, patting yourself on the back, saying how good a season you had, and then trying to re-energize, reboot, and get back to where you were before, that can be challenging also. But I think in today's day and age, where you're trying to use your best pitchers, let's say the Dodgers, for instance, I mean, they want Kershaw out there despite his struggles against the Cardinals in the postseason. They want him out there. You know, if they're going to win the whole thing, he's going to pitch 45 innings in the postseason, and you want him rested.
Ron Darling, MLB on TBS, also SNY, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. And that example, Dallas Keuchel starts tonight for Houston, and if Houston does make the wild card game, that would mean they've got a choice of starting somebody else or Keuchel on 3 days rest. Which American League wild card participant, whether it's the Yankees or any other team that is in the running right now, do you think has the best chance of making a Royals-type run from last year this year, Ron?
Well, that's a great question. You know, I think the Yankees have the veteran kind of leadership, but I think that the Teixeira injury and their starting pitching has been iffy. Is going to make it difficult for them to go deep into the postseason. When I look at Houston, I see a team that catches the ball, have great young talent, top of the rotation guys. Keuchel and McHugh have won 18 games each this year. Keuchel's 19, I believe, now. So they've got some good starting pitching, but I look at their bullpen, and it's older guys, and it's certainly not what Kansas City had last year, you know, with Herrera and Davis and Holland. And with the Angels, you're looking at a team that really has lost their closer in Houston Street, Joe Smith. Their second best reliever in the pen is just trying to get healthy. Their starting pitching has been good, not as good as it's been before. So if I have to pick one of those three teams, I'm going to go with Houston, only because they've seemed to have some kind of magical thing working, kind of like the Mets. Both teams have gone through 6 straight years of losing seasons, and it seems every time they need a big hit or they need a big catch or a big pitch, they've gotten it. So maybe the magic will continue.
Yeah, and the Twins have the Kansas City Royals at home this weekend. They might have it in them too. With Molitor's been dialing up some pressed buttons in recent days too. I mean, they're only a game out. Also, they're right there.
Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have left Minnesota out. Sorry for those Minnesota folks. They've been great all year. A first-year manager, a team that's used a lot of kind of no names in their pitching staff. They've got Irvin Santana, who's just come back, who's been outstanding. And again, they're another team like Houston that every time you want to count them out for dead, they seem to come up with a 5-game winning streak or whatever it takes. So I played against Paul Molitor. He always got it done. It's not surprising to me that his team is getting it done right now.
So in the National League wild card race, you know, we've known it's been the Pirates and the Cubs for quite some time, and the Cubs with a 5-game winning streak have not gone gently into that Pittsburgh night where they feel like they can maybe still have this game at home for the wild card game next Wednesday. Which team do you think needs that home field more, the Pirates or the Cubs, for that game, Ron?
This is why you're the best, Rich, and your poetic references. I think when you look at Pittsburgh and Chicago, they both have had amazing years, and I think if you looked at the Pittsburgh team, this will be their 3rd wild card game in their building. You would think that having that experience is going to help them, although they're 1-1 in those 2 games. But Jake Arrieta is the wild card. He's been the best pitcher in the second half. And I don't mean the best pitcher like getting wins and pitching well. I'm talking about unhittable since the second half. And, they're going to go, of course, with Garrett Cole, who's been fantastic also, but not having the same second half as Arrieta. So to me, the Cubs are going to have an advantage because they'll have the best pitcher in baseball since the second half going. That being said, in the wild card games, you think that the home team would have the advantage of the 6 games that have been played so far with the 2 wild cards. 4 of them have been won by the opposing team, by the not the home team, the visiting team.
Yep.
So that seems strange to me that you would think it would be a home field advantage in that wild card. I think because it's a 7th game right off the bat, that the fans are nervous, the players are nervous because one team is going to be making a flight to play more postseason games. One team is going to be making a tea time the next day. So it's I give the edge to Arrieta only because of how well he's pitched.
So exciting. And then the only matchup that we pretty much know is going to be, because Kansas City and Toronto is tied for the best record in the American League, so we don't even know who's going to be hosting a wild card team next week in a division series. We know the Mets and Dodgers playing each other. How do you see that series going, Ron?
Well, that's going to be an interesting series because I think what has happened, if you look at the Dodgers, is that they have 2 of the best pitchers in baseball. Kershaw has been the best pitcher in baseball for the last half dozen years. So I think what's going to happen for L.A., and this is just my opinion, is that they have enough hitting. They've got a good back of the bullpen guy in Jansen. But in 2001, the Arizona Diamondbacks won the World Series championship because they took 2 pitchers, the big unit and Kurt Schilling, and just said, we're going to pitch them every single chance we get, because that's our only chance. And I think that's what the Dodgers are going to do with Kershaw and Greinke. You can see them start 2 games in this first division series against the Mets. On the Mets side of it, their strength, of course, is their starting pitching. Their offense has been amazing since late July because of Cespedes and Uribe and Johnson. I think the 2 places for the Mets that they're going to have to really button up is that how they get the ball to Familia, because Clippard and Reed have been good but not great. And all season long, I would say that they're not in the top echelon of defensive teams, especially in the infield. And you know that you give up any more than 27 outs to any ball club in the postseason, you're asking for trouble. So their defense gets buttoned up, and the 2 guys, Reed and Clippard, that are leading to Familia, have a hot October. then the Mets are a scary team for a team that no one thought would go to the postseason before the season.
And with Harvey being announced essentially that he's pitching only one game, one start of that series, does that mean Game 3? You think?
He'll go Game 3, which is always a pivotal game in the best of 5. It doesn't matter where you're at; that is a huge game. So I think the Mets are in good hands with him pitching that one game. Plenty of people have heard about his innings limits, but really, in reality, if he can win his game that he pitches against Los Angeles, and somehow the Mets move on from there to the League Championship Series, he's going to be asked maybe to win 3 times if they go deep into the postseason, but he's going to have to win all 3.
I mean, Ron, when you think of it, I understand you got to think long term. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not him, so I don't have a long-term contract, right? Like he wants. But how many chances do you get a bite at this apple in the Big Apple, right? Am I wrong for saying that?
I can't speak for him either, Rich. All I know is that for myself, and I'm sure maybe this is an age thing, a generational thing, but I do know that if the postseason was sitting in front of me and I had a healthy arm, I would certainly march into the manager's office and say, hey, listen, take the chains off. I'm unfettered. Whatever you need from me, I'm ready to go. Today's player thinks a lot differently than Bob Gibson in 1968. So I understand the importance of health, but boy, this is such an immediate kind of game. And in 2006, when the Mets lost to the Cardinals in Game 7, they thought that for the next half dozen years they'd be in the playoffs every year with a chance to win it, and they haven't been there since. So you just never know when it's going to be your chance to shine. And boy, I'd hate to be a guy who has a healthy arm or an everyday player who's healthy who decides not to play or doesn't play as much as you want because of decisions for the future. We're all on one-day contracts when you think about it.
Ron, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. I look forward to your call with Ernie Johnson and Cal Ripken Jr. on the Angels and Rangers season finale on TBS and then the playoffs there. Look forward to it.
Thank you, Rich, for everything. Bye.
You bet. Ron Darling will be in the booth, as I said, with EJ and Cal for the final day of the 2015 regular season and showcasing Mike Trout and the reigning MVP of the American League, Mike Trout, and the Los Angeles Angels visiting fielder Beltre and the Rangers. The Angels currently right now, as I mentioned, 1 game back in the wild card race, 4 games behind Texas in the West. That's on TBS on Sunday at 3 Eastern time.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.